This episode of the Lori Talk-Tarski Morning Show is produced by CMJW Entertainment. This episode is brought to you in part by MHA of Dutchess County and Angels of the Andes.
Mental Health America of Dutchess County and Reviver Entertainment Group present The Sound of Nashville in the Hudson Valley's Queen City. Featuring headliner, Grand Ole Opry member, and CMT Award nominee, Craig Morgan. With supporting acts, two-time Grammy nominee, Maggie Rose. Finalist of Season 19 of The Voice and Hudson Valley native, Ian Flanagan. Viral sensation, Jake Banfield, and special guest, Broadway to country star, Brooke Morrow. The Sound of Nashville, one night only. Tuesday, October 6th at the Bardavon Opera House in Poughkeepsie, New York. Visit bardavon.org for ticket information.
We at Angels of the Andes are proud to partner and support the Lori Talk-Tarski Morning Show. Our mission is to create brighter futures for children living in Peru's highest peaks of the Andes Mountains by supporting families and schools with essential resources and reminding them that there is always hope for tomorrow. Each year, we also bring the gift of Christmas, rooting children in joy, faith, and the love of Jesus, while reminding them that they are deeply cared for beyond their mountains. For more information and to donate, please scan the QR code on the screen and visit the link in the description. 100% of your gift goes directly to the mission, helping families where they need it most. Together, we can continue reaching the highest peaks.
Good morning. Rise and shine to the iconic light.
Rise and shine.
Yes. And as we say, coffee in one hand, confidence in the other.
Woo-hoo.
Woo! Girl power.
Yes. Girl power.
Today I have my pink heart mug, and pink's one of my favorite colors.
I love pink.
Yes, it's such a girly Barbie dollish color.
Yes.
And of course the heart, because I'm so everything with Lori loves to love, to spread light and love.
Yes, you do.
And all I want to do today is spread the light and beautiful light and love of your story, your compelling story, how you rose above so much adversities and challenges and really near-death experiences.
Yes.
So I want to kind of see what your I'm kind of curious to see what your coffee mug says.
So my mug says, "Be still." And this actually is from the Bible. It's "Be still and know that I am God." And this is from Psalms 46:10. And this saying right here kind of got me through many challenges in the last 2 years of my life. In the midst of chaos in my life, I was told quite a few times to be still. And when I actually stopped and listened and I was still, things changed.
I think we should start a little bit. We kind of rewind, be kind, rewind.
Yes.
Why don't we go back a little bit to little Emmy, the
Little
girl.
Emmy. I love that.
Yeah, the inner
That
child.
sounds like my dad, little Emmy.
Yeah, and talk a little bit first about your childhood and a little bit about you, so the audience can get a better picture of the beautiful, strong woman you've become and the force you are in so many people's lives and in the community. So tell me a little bit.
Okay. So I come from Coney Island originally, in Brooklyn, and I come from a broken home. My parents were separated when I was 9. They went through a terrible separation and divorce, and it really...
That's not uncommon. I mean, broken homes happens to just about everybody in some capacity, although each individual, it really hurts.
Yeah, it was really hard. I feel like a lot of things were... I was the oldest. I have 2 younger brothers, and I feel like because I was the oldest, a lot of things were kind of put on me, of course, like to help take care of my brothers and, the homework and cooking and cleaning and, extra things that really weren't put on me before, but now they were.
So in a sense, did you feel like your childhood you were robbed of a certain childhood? And
I definitely was robbed of a childhood from that point on. Just the divorce, it was just really ugly what had happened between my parents. After the fact, it was just like so much fighting that happened. And, in the end, the fighting for custody that my mother did, for so long. And then she left in the end. In the end, she fought for us. She won. And then one day she just decided that she couldn't do it anymore. She was an alcoholic and she was a drug addict. I faced that challenge also of having to live with that. And there was a lot of things that went into dealing with that, with living in that kind of home, just things that I had to endure and go through.
And why don't you just let's take a deep breath. Mm-hmm. And then maybe if you're able to just explain some of the things that you had to kind of go through with all of that.
Just having to see things that, probably, a 13 and 14-year-old child shouldn't have to see in their home, things, coming in and out or happening, a child having to kind of be alone, like I was just kind of alone, at that time in my life in a big way and unsupported, in a big way. So
did you have a sense of spirituality or a sense of a higher being or that you could maybe call on?
At that time, I don't feel like I had like really such a sense of spirituality. No, I don't feel like there was. I feel like I was just living. I was just like struggling to live. Like every day was just like a challenge to live every single day.
I certainly relate to that.
I feel like there was always like the presence of God was with me. Like now as an adult, I know that God was with me every day. But back then I didn't know.
Right. It's so funny in hindsight. I know when I was going through tumultuous times, I just reached out and I said, please, please. And some days it was really difficult to believe. And now that I look back on hindsight, it was like he was grasping for me. He was holding me and everything.
Well, that's the thing, like like I said, I wasn't spiritual. Like I don't feel like I was, but like I know that he was with me right then. Right. I know that now. But then I didn't know. I was just fighting every day to stay alive. Just, was struggling. To survive. Exactly. I was just struggling to survive.
And today, by the grace of God, you're thriving.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
that's what I say. I call myself not just a survivor, but a thriver.
Yeah. Yeah. So, she left. It changed a lot of things in my life. I ended up going to South America and I lived in South America for a while. And I came back and I lived with my dad. And,
you're originally from South America.
My father
Your father is.
My father
okay.
is, yeah.
Your father's from Peru.
Yes.
And we'll get to that.
Yes.
How it turns into such a beautiful story.
Yeah. Yeah. But, it was just, there were so many things that happened, in my childhood of abandonment and, just things that I went through. But I'll tell you what, the good news is that, and I know that we will touch on this at some point, but, I have a book coming out and my story will be in the book and it will be in a lot more detail.
And it's going to be unbelievable.
It's going to be a lot more detail, a story.
And when do you think this force will be out, this incredible book?
My hopes is that it's going to be out this summer. That's going to be, that's my hopes. Yeah.
And do you have a title yet or what you've been thinking of?
Yes, we have a title. Well, it's not official, but we have a title in the works. I don't really want to give it away yet because it's not like for certain, but when the title is for certain, I will definitely...
We'll yell it from the rooftop.
I will make sure that you know about it so that you could yell it for me from
the rooftop. Sure thing.
On your podcast and make sure everybody knows.
Sure.
Because it will be a story of hope and, through many challenges from many situations of
I think that's what we all want to claim that. We all want to take hope. We all want to have faith. We all want to have love.
Because it's a lot of trauma through, just childhood things I went through, through, postpartum, through
and you had a lot of postpartum depression?
There was some, but, also through my marriage and through just my own depression, just challenges through many different things.
How did you, because I've dealt with severe depression with my bipolar that I've endured and suffered with, but now I find like I'm totally in the light and I've been graced with a remission that I can do greatness for the glory of God. How did you feel in the depressions? How did you cope with it? Did you even know what was happening to you?
In the moment, I can't say that I knew exactly that I was in depression. like before I was talking about chaos, like there was a moment where I was like really in complete and utter chaos in my life. And I just didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was happening.
So we were like we were kind of like lost sheep looking for the shepherd.
Yes. Yeah. And it was really rough. And, sometimes it takes for someone to step in,
To intervene.
Yeah. And that's kind of what happened for me. And I was blessed in that way, that somebody intervened and really was able to help me through that. And I was able to see where my life was and what was going on. So,
So you had more awareness finally.
I did. But ultimately, I realized that what I needed to do to get through my depression for myself was I needed to focus on forgiveness. And once I was able to focus on forgiveness, and it wasn't something like that happened overnight. Like I wasn't able to say, oh, okay, I forgive my mom or I forgive this person. And then like I woke up the next day and my life was changed.
I know. It's a long
Like,
process. A lot of people never reach that.
It didn't happen like that, right? Like it took a while, and it took a lot of praying, and it took a lot of talking to people that like really had my back for me to like get to that point in my head where I was able to like surrender it to God and like really forgive for myself,
Well, I look at it as like it's forgiving, like forgiving.
Yeah.
It's forgiving.
Yeah.
Do you follow what I'm saying?
I do. And when it's so weird. Like I remember being on my sofa, and I remember I had this green sofa. It was like a velvet sofa.
Ooh, sounds pretty.
It was. And I remember, in the chaos of my life though, like I remember, and my kids were little, and I remember crying a lot in that depression time,
Yes, I know what that's
And
like.
I just remember crying and like, that depression.
The chaos almost equates to like that darkness.
It does. And, it just feeds off everybody in the house, like everybody in the house feeds off of you, off the depression, like
negative breeds negative and positive breeds positive.
And it's horrible, especially because as the woman of the house, like I kind of feel like, I was like setting up the standard for my home. And so it was hard for me. But after I let that go, when I remember realizing that time in my life when it was gone, like the forgiveness was there and that feeling was gone, and I felt so good.
It's almost like your spirit could fly.
It was. I felt so different. Everything in my home just felt different. It was like a whole new world in my house. Once I was able to like truly forgive in my heart, there was a sense of freedom.
Were you able to reconnect with these relationships or the people?
Well, here's the thing, right? So I think one of the biggest reasons why I was having trouble also with the forgiveness was because I always assumed in my mind that when you forgive somebody, that you need to have a relationship with that person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you need to start hanging out with them again, or
breaking bread with them.
Exactly, you need to start breaking bread. Okay, so now we're going to Thanksgiving together again, and like this is in my head, and it's like, but I knew that that's not what I wanted. I wanted to be able to forgive and just be done.
Right, because ultimately they weren't good for you.
Exactly, like the toxicity wasn't good in my life.
And I think that's so important for people to hear, because they keep so many people in their lives because they think they have to.
Yeah.
They can't be without them.
Yeah. But it was, when I realized that I was able to forgive, and it was okay not to have that person or anybody in my life like that I was forgiving and move on.
Right. And you could love them from afar. You could pray for them. You could do good things.
And I could still love the person. Like I could still love people and not have you in my life. I could still love you and say I forgive you, even if you never say anything to me, and I can live a wonderful life.
Exactly.
And we're good.
Exactly.
Like I just didn't know that was possible, and it just took so long for me to realize that too,
Well, guess what? I don't think a lot of people ever realize that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So that's a gift.
Yeah. So that happened, and
Now I know your family. I've gotten to know your family, and what a beautiful, wonderful family you have. Very much so.
Thank you.
And I know you have 2 sons that are in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I always found about your sons, I know them going on about 5 years or so since I moved up to Dutchess. The Long Island girl came upstate, but still have that heart
Yes.
of a Long Island girl.
Yes, you definitely have Long Island all over you, sister. Yes, you do.
Anyway, but the thing I really enjoy about your boys is they're so respectful and they're so kind and they're so helpful and they don't want anything in return. They just want to be of service, and that's such a heart of God and giving and things like that. So, did you raise them like that? Did they come to be like that? I mean, because in today's world, it's very difficult.
What is that saying in the Bible? Me and my house, we will serve the Lord, right? This has always been in my house. We will serve the Lord, and definitely.
And that's kind of like, I know I always talk about it. I grew up Jewish, and now I find myself, I make a joke out of it. I hope no one gets offended, but I say I'm a Messianic Jew, which is the type of Judaism. I say I'm a mess of a Jew, and I'm a Jew that believes in the Messiah, Jesus as the Messiah. I know you grew up very, very religious in a Jewish background,
Yes,
in
I
the yeshiva.
Yes.
And now you go to church.
Yes, so I do. So I will definitely. I'll touch on the church part in a sec, but definitely
with your boys being with the Lord and the home of the Lord.
Yeah. So with the boys, I always raised them to be just loyal, loving, and giving. I always wanted to create in my home like a foundation of unity and love. It was always really important to me that we had that. Me and Danny always built that with the kids. It was just like an important factor. And, I always said, I was going to break cycles.
And Danny's not some man off the street, right? He's your husband. You didn't mention him.
Yeah, Danny's my husband. We've been married for 25 years.
Okay,
yes. 25 years. And so, he's also gone through, some stuff in his life. And, we always said that there were certain things that we wanted to do when we raised kids and how we wanted to raise kids, and we wanted to break cycles,
generational curses
in his life, from his life, from my life,
you wanted it better.
Absolutely. We wanted to create something different, something better for our kids and for our lives, and just the unity and the love, and teaching them to do things differently. And Danny and I, we went to school. We both had gotten associate's degrees, and we were always like, oh, we want our kids to do so much better than us, and we want them to like aim high, and so that was always something like for my kids, that I always told them, aim high, but I always would tell them also like, you're not perfect, and I will never expect you to be perfect.
Right.
Like, you guys are allowed to mess up,
right.
Like, just be honest,
right.
Like, just tell me the truth, be honest, you are never, ever, ever, like, gonna, like, disappoint me if, like, you're messing up and you're coming to me, you're gonna tell me the truth. Like,
right, we talked about that. It's our imperfections that make us perfect.
Yes. So, that was like one of the biggest things with my kids is that, I always wanted them to aim high, and I always encouraged them to do great things. I wanted them to always, aim to achieve greatness. And I always supported them in whatever that they wanted to do, even if they changed their mind from like one career to the next, or,
which
whatever.
A lot of people do.
And that's fine. Like, I'm always going to support my kids no matter what, as long as like they're being authentic to who they are. And,
I think that's all we can ask of everybody.
They're straight and they're honest.
Right.
Like, that's what I need, But as far as the church, you mentioned.
Well, I had met you at the church.
So, yeah, so we met in a freedom group. So that was.
Yay to freedom.
Yay to
freedom.
The
freedom you feel is just unbelievable. It surpasses all understanding.
Yes.
The peace and freedom.
Yay to freedom. You are not kidding. And God really brought you into my life. He has brought people into my life and brought people out of my life, right? In like the most amazing ways, honestly. And you have really just been such a light in my life, Lori. No, really, you have been such an amazing friend. Like, I met you from the day I met you. I just, how like sometimes like you meet people and you just don't really think that like, oh, I just met this person. Like, you don't really know that you're going to become close with them, or you don't really imagine that they're going to be in your life, next week, right? Like.
So you imagine we'd be sharing the picket fence and gardening together?
I love you.
Thank you.
I love you.
Thank you. I love you too.
I love you.
You're so sweet.
Yes.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
your family's been amazing. You've been amazing, and your story is just as we go on, it's unbelievable. And I want to continue to tell this just God inspired story. So
Where do you want to?
I want to talk about. You had said I want to talk about in depthly. I know for me, like my mother always says this saying, "Geh Gesundheit." And it's a Yiddish expression. It says, go in health, go in peace, and go in health. I know for me, like, I felt like if only I didn't have these terrible health conditions, I could just climb all the mountains. I can get from all the valleys, and I could just do invincible things in life for the glory of God and for doing good things and good deeds. And I remember so many years I felt so knocked down. But like we said, in hindsight, it's through adversity that we find out who we are.
Yeah.
And obviously, if I didn't have all these things happen to me with the mental health challenges and the food addiction and trauma of loss and different things, my life mission wouldn't be to bring people to light and healing.
Yeah.
And so much of what you do in the community and in your family and with your friends and is about things that you have gone through. And I know most recently in the last couple of years, we almost lost you.
Yeah.
And that was beyond frightening.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. And, I was thinking earlier about this because I was just thinking about how, God orchestrates for us our lives and we don't even realize it, and he just orchestrates how things are going to happen. And, through what you've battled with, the mental health issues and, your food addiction and, you never imagined that you would be here right now. Right. And you never imagined of, all the things that you would have been doing. But what you don't.
Now I can't imagine not doing it.
I know, but just think about all the people that you've touched, and this was like God's plan, right? For you to be touching so many people and helping so many people.
Oh, it just feels so amazing. Oh, right? God, like my heart bubbles over.
And that's the plan and purpose. And I feel like for so long in my life, I've always wondered, like, what's my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? And I think that's like a struggle that so many people have in life is like, what's their purpose? They don't know what their purpose is, where they're supposed to be,
But it was so interesting. I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but
Yeah,
this is something that I spoke to a dear friend yesterday, my friend Emma, and she said, sometimes people are looking for this big, big purpose, but when you have this belief of a higher being, there's all different purposes. There may be big purposes, like on a grandiose scale, but just going to the supermarket and helping somebody with their groceries or paying for it or smiling at somebody and they're having a very painful day or buying one of your best friend's flowers, or giving somebody a hug.
Yeah. I'm definitely one of those people that you will find that I will absolutely be that person that I am buying someone their lunch and they don't know it, right? Or I'm giving them that extra super duper tip because I heard that they somehow shared their story with me and they melted my heart. And I'm like, oh gosh, here we go.
Right.
Like somehow I have like an extra 50 in my bag and I'm
sharing my story with you.
And I'm putting
my 50.
And I'm putting a Bible verse on the ticket, on the receipt, and I'm like, here you go, and I'm running out the door because I don't even want her to know. Like I don't want to, because I'm not, I don't want the
the camaraderie.
I don't want the camaraderie. Yeah, I don't want the charades or anything. Like I'm like.
So you definitely are, and that's there's so many beautiful things about you, but that's one of the most beautiful. So yes, you definitely do all the little things and the big things, but you also said, for a long time you didn't know exactly, what direction to go in.
Yeah, I didn't, and so I guess what happened is. It's life, it's living, I'm taking care of my kids, I'm taking care of my husband, I went to school and it was just, everyday stuff. And I just wasn't really feeling well, and I'm having headaches and rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia.
And what exactly is that? Not, to kind of touch upon it in a little bit. So for those that don't know.
Rheumatoid arthritis.
Right. So it's just, I know what arthritis is,
Yeah.
but.
Well, rheumatoid arthritis is, can we look it up then? If you want to, I want to give you like a in-depth. I don't want to give you
chat GPT.
I don't want to give you
a chat GPT version.
Yeah, I don't want to tell you.
Right.
Chronic autoimmune disorder where the immune system attacks the joint lining, causing painful inflammation, swelling, stiffness, and potential permanent joint damage or deformity.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's unbelievable. And I know you were going through that because
Yes.
you used to talk about it in our groups.
Yes.
How painful and the inflammation.
Yes.
So you had that, and on top of it, you were having headaches.
So what happened was I was dealing with the rheumatoid arthritis, and then the rheumatologist was putting me on all kinds of medications, biologics, and I was going for injections and what have you. And I was complaining of migraines, and he said, "You really need to see a neurologist." And I said, "Well, I don't really have time. Like I'm dealing with this, I'm taking care of my kids, I'm helping my dad with this." No, you need to go. So I finally decided in 2016 as a New Year's resolution to myself that I was going to take care of my health. And I decided to go see the neurologist, and I went for an MRA. And when the results came back, I went into the office, and she was like, we need to talk. You need to come sit down, and I have news. And I just knew something was wrong.
Oh, wow.
And it was nothing that I expected. And she showed me the images and told me that the arteries in the front of my brain were narrowed and collapsed.
Did it resonate with you, or were you just in shock because you heard like that there was bad news?
I was in shock because I really wasn't anticipating to hear bad news. It was like one of those things, like, like when you go to get like
a mammogram
and, you go get your results. Oh, everything was great. You
come back in a year.
Yeah, you go get a pap and it's like, oh, the pap was great. Come back in a year. Like I was not expecting anything.
Right.
And so, yeah, I was like in shock. And so all of a sudden, like, it was like one of those things, like I was like a Charlie Brown. Like I didn't hear anything. And I'm just like, just write everything down for me. Just write everything down. And she said, all I heard was neurovascular surgeon. And then I couldn't even repeat the words.
Wow.
Like the words wouldn't even come out of my mouth.
Wow.
And so from there, I had to go for a cerebral angiogram.
Wow.
And a couple of weeks later, I was in the city. I found a doctor out there. And the cerebral angiogram confirmed that I had a rare brain disease called moya. And with that, they also found that I had an aneurysm in the back of my brain.
Oh my God. And what was the prognosis? What did they say at that point?
The moya is, it's a rare brain disease that there's no cure for. They typically do surgery, but they needed to do so much more testing before they could do any kind of surgery. There was like a ton of testing that they needed to do beforehand. They said the aneurysm was small, so that was something that they wanted to monitor.
Okay.
All right,
thank
so
God.
after tons of testing for probably about 3 weeks, I was back and forth in the city doing all kinds of tests.
And what was going through your mind during all this time? Like, were you able to comprehend everything? Were you trying to like disassociate and not kind of focus on it? Were you trying to distract yourself?
I was comprehending. I was really thinking that, I was trying to be realistic. And that's just something about me is that, even at that time that I was in faith, right? And I'm definitely the type of person at that point in my life where I'm like, okay, I really try to give it to God. And it's like, the battle belongs to you, Lord, and I'm giving it to you and I'm praying to you. But, at the same time, I feel like I need to live in reality, right? So like my reality is that, okay, this could be a deadly disease, right? So now I need to live as if this is a deadly disease, even though I need to give this battle to God, right? We just went through all the testing, and at the end, we found that my brain had created these like little baby arteries called collateral arteries. And because it created these arteries that was supplying blood and oxygen to my brain, they couldn't do the surgery that they were talking about because it kind of would have created like a force, like a blood flow force that could have been dangerous, is how he kind of explained it.
Okay.
So we monitored every year. We were monitoring, and that was from 2016.
And was the aneurysm staying basically the same size?
So yeah, I was going, and
And did you still have headaches?
So I was, I was still getting like these pressure. I always was getting pressure in the front of my head, and I was getting headaches. And so, they would tell me, you have to uh, take medication. You have to find a way to do something about it through medication or alternatively or however you can. There was nothing that they could really do for me. Honestly, they were like, go to a regular neurologist, get on medication, or find another way to deal with it because they couldn't do anything at that point. But then in 2024, I was like a few months past due on my appointment, and I was having migraines. And a friend of mine, Renee, who
Oh, yes.
she was like, you need to go, and she was kind of like up my butt about it. And so finally, when I went to go get my results, it was kind of like back in 2016. Like when I walked into that office and, you just think that you're going to go in and they're going to be like, all right, baseline is normal again. We'll see you next year. And the surgeon was like, we need to talk.
Wow.
And I'm like, what are we talking about?
Right.
So he told me that the aneurysm had grown. It was probably like about 4 or 5 times the size. The sad news is that recently, like about 2 or 3 years before that, my cousin passed away from a brain aneurysm rupture that she didn't know that she had.
Oh my God.
And so I had told the surgeon that, and with the increase in size from 1 year to the next, I mean, it was humongous. And when he showed me from last year to this year, and he was able to show me side by side, it was enormous, and it was scary to even just look at it. It was frightening. And he said, we are going to have to do surgery like as soon as possible because I'm afraid that this is going to rupture. Wow. So we did 2 weeks later. I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks later. Yeah, we did surgery.
And where are you at as far as feeling, or, did you still have that handed over to faith and all?
I did. I was still giving it to God, and I was still surrendering to him. But again, I was being realistic. I still felt like I needed to be realistic, and I was setting everything up. I was getting everything ready. I was showing my children where the budget books were, where the passwords were. Listen, this is the reality. I'm going in for a full-blown craniotomy. They were cutting my brain open, my head open from here to here,
I know.
the inside of my mouth. They were cutting me. They were going in my brain, and anything was possible. So I was setting up anything, like for anything was possible. Of course, I'm saying to myself, of course, God, please, I don't want to die. But, let's be realistic here. I don't have that control.
Well, I always say God only knows the number of our days.
Exactly. And I live in reality, I mean, my husband, and listen, I love my surgeon, and he's like a world-renowned surgeon, Dr. David Langer, and my husband.
You just gave him a big
shout out. Dr. David Langer from Lenox Hill Hospital, and he actually has a Netflix series with Lenox Hill, and my husband praised him up and down and said, nothing's happening to my wife, but I said, babe, you got to stop because, now you're turning him into an idol.
Right, and there will be no idols before God.
You cannot do that. He is not an idol, right? Like Dr. David Langer is amazing, but he is not an idol.
He's a vessel.
Yes. However, so the surgery went well. I came out of the surgery, and I went home. And although, of course, it was a little rough, right? Coming through the recovery. And 7 days into the recovery, my son came home, Zachary. And he had a cute little cake, and it had a little number 7 on it with a candle. And
it's so touching.
It was, because they're such touching kids, They
really are.
And he just wanted to celebrate my life, and he just wanted to, happy, 1 week home.
What an incredible life it is.
1 week home, Mom,
Yeah.
And we were just celebrating the moment, and it was a great moment. And then the next morning, I woke up, and I had a stroke.
I remember what happened because I went to your house because I hadn't heard from you, and that wasn't like you. And your son Sebastian answered the door and told me what happened, and we both started hysterically crying because you were in intensive care.
Yeah. So it was
And when exactly did this happen?
I had the surgery October, August 20th. So I want to say August 28th. I think it was
of
24.
Right.
Of 2024. Okay. And then I was in the hospital, and I was in and out of the OR, and they were just trying to figure out what was going on, and I couldn't speak. I lost my speech. There was just like so many things going on, there was literally a moment in time in the first 24 hours that I was laying in the bed and I truly had a moment with God. And I thought
That be still, right?
well, no, it wasn't even beyond. Well, I mean, I was definitely being still. I was being
Right.
still with God because I thought for sure that that was my moment, and I thought that it was over for me. And I was surrendering my entire life to Him in that moment that I couldn't even speak. My speech was completely gone, but I was aware of what was going on around me. And I just remember thinking in my own head, I'm like, this is it, God. You know, like, please just take care of my family. Just take care of my husband, take care of my sons, you know. And I surrender. Like, I'm literally in my head, I'm telling Him, like, I surrender to you. Like, it is your will. Whatever is your
I
will,
will.
whatever is your will, I'm giving it to you. I'm giving it all to you. Whatever it
But
is.
look at these miracles that happen.
Whatever it is.
Look at, I mean,
Yeah.
look at you. Look how you've been restored, renewed, almost
Yeah.
like a rebirth.
Yeah. And it wasn't my time. It wasn't my time.
Thank God.
And you know, a few days, I mean, about a week and a half later, when I was able to speak again, you know, barely, I was learning how to speak again. And my sons were helping me learn how to talk again. My husband, it was insanity what was going on in the ICU. But the doctor came in, the surgeon, Dr. Langer, and I said to him, you know, when I came in here, I didn't think I was going to make it. And he sat down with me and he looked at me and he said, when you came in here, I didn't think you were going to make it either.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And, you know, it was, that was a moment for me, like, to hear that from him, you know, to hear those words out of his mouth. It was a moment for me. But, you know, I left there September 11th.
Wow, never forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah. I left there September 11th. And I remember I couldn't wait to get out of that hospital, but at the same time, I was so afraid. You know, I was afraid to leave because I was afraid of, oh, God forbid I have another stroke, or God forbid something happens, and I live all the way up here. And but I remember going home, and it was emotional. You know, I took a really hot, warm bath, and I sat in the bath, and I just cried.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you know, Danny just sat with me, and I cried in the bath, and it was just a moment. But you know, I feel like we, as a family, went through something together, and we stood by each other's side, and we knew that we were not going to let what happened to me and to us turn into anything that was going to destroy us in any way.
It was just going to build you. It was going to build you even further.
It wasn't going to like bring any negativity into
Right,
our
it was
lives.
just going to strengthen all of you.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and what was great is, you know, I had so many wonderful people in my life. I had my ladies from my church group were coming every day for weeks. They were bringing us food. Danny didn't have to cook a meal for weeks. They were coming. They were praying over me. They were bringing food. They were loving on us. You know, it was amazing. We had so many wonderful people in our lives that were just there for us.
That's
and
what
loving
makes or
us.
breaks things, the people in our lives.
Yes, you know, and that's like another thing. It's like, you know, you realize in moments like this, you know, who's there and who's not, you know? And it was a true testimony to me. And it was
To how loved you are.
It really was. And it was beautiful. But, you know, through this whole scenario, like so many things happened, you know, in just a few little months. And we decided that, you know, we were going to start an official 501c3. You know, through what I went through, we were like, okay, we're starting this official 501c3 because we had already been doing a Christmas mission for children in Peru.
And what is that called? You're actually one of our sponsors, so that's
Yes,
wonderful.
yes.
How you took a liking and support us.
Yes. We so it's called Angels of the Andes.
I love that. Angels.
Yes.
Angels all around.
Because those children are like my little angels, and they're so beautiful, you know.
They really are.
They're my angels. They're just the most beautiful children. And you know, we were doing this before, but we didn't have an official name, right? So now after the fact, I'm like, okay, we need to do, and my husband too, he's like, we have to do something. And it's like, you know, God saved me. And now I felt like I had to give something back, like 100 times more. I'm like, God, what can I do for you? You know, how can I serve you, Lord? Lord,
Right.
please, how can I serve you after what you did for me and my family? You know, like, I just couldn't get enough.
That's how I felt when I went through what I went through. I just want to give back and help and give and serve and love.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do was give back and serve and love in any way that I possibly could. And so, I had a bit of a rough time with my speech still, and a little bit with my comprehension in the beginning when I got home. So, thankfully, my husband was very on board with this, and he really helped me. We hired a lawyer, and so in the whole beginning stages, he really helped me through a lot of the stuff, the legal stuff. And we did our first nonprofit organization. We did our first Zumba.
Fundraiser. Zumba. I was shaking it, girl.
Yes, you were.
I was even with the bad foot.
We did. Yeah, it was.
We
great.
had a lot of fun.
Yes,
we had a lot of
fun. It was amazing. So from the end of September, we started it, and then we did Christmas mission. We sent gifts out in the beginning of December. But literally from September through December, the second week of December, we raised like $35,000.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing, and using it all for good things.
Yeah,
to help people.
Yeah, 100% of the money that we raise goes directly to Peru, and of course, like we had a lot of money left over because we were not expecting to raise that much money. So we decided that we were going to expand our mission, and my son came up with this great idea of helping a school there. I went back to Peru in May, and I interviewed a couple of different schools in like all these little rural areas in Peru, and we found a school that we were going to help, and we did. We worked on. They asked for uniforms, they asked for a library, they asked for a soccer field.
These kids sure know what to ask for.
But let me tell you something. I went back with my husband just this past March, April, May, so 2 months ago. Not even 2 months ago. Yeah. My husband and I went back, and we delivered the library.
Wow.
With all brand new books.
Oh, God.
Yes. We delivered a brand new soccer field with new balls. They all got brand new uniforms.
Oh.
Yeah, and we're going to be cementing a whole area for them on top of it.
Oh, I love it.
So we did that for them. And then there was another school that we also ended up helping, and they needed their stove was broken. It was a school that I interviewed, and they had a broken stove, and they served 80 students with a broken stove they had to cook lunch for.
Wow.
So Angels in the Andes bought them a brand new stove, bought them new pots and spatulas. And while I was there with my husband in March, we bought them, the whole school, brand new bowls and spoons and cups for all the students.
Beautiful. I just want to say, Emmi, say your full name, please, because I want them to know as your book and all these things come out. Emmi
Angeles Nusimow.
And your name Angel is in there, right?
Yes, Angeles is Angeles is Angels, yes.
So it was meant to be once again. I just want to say you're amazing. Your story is amazing. Things you're doing is amazing. And I think you had mentioned you wanted to kind of wrap up on the Lori Talk-Tarsky morning show. Prayer with a prayer.
Yes. So besides that, Miss Lori, my beautiful friend, I wanted to give you this mug. It says hope on it. Okay, because you are literally such a wonderful light in my life, and you bring hope to me.
Oh,
and Lori was the first person in my life, actually, on my 1-year anniversary after my stroke, that came to my house with a little gift to celebrate my 1 year, and that really meant so much to me that she thought of me and remembered me. So
I'll never forget.
So hope is a strong and trustworthy anchor for our souls. Okay, so this is a little gift for you. I love you. Okay. Okay, but I definitely do want to just take my hand, and I just want to say, Father God, bless the loving, caring soul, the gentle, outstretched hand who gives of herself and has her heart, asking nothing in return. My beautiful friend Lori, may God bless you and keep you always.
Oh, God.
Amen.
So beautiful.
I love you. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
God,
this is my first podcast.
Not your last.
I hope
not.
not.
Your last. It was as if it wasn't your first. It was so at ease and just so beautifully vulnerable and real, like you always are.
Thank you so much.
Can I keep that beautiful prayer?
You know what? I'm going to type it up beautifully for you, actually. Okay. And I will frame it for you.
I love that.
Okay.
I love that.
How's that?
Anyway, that's a wrap.